Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us on the news briefing for this Wednesday. Our first topic is COVID-19, and we have with us Dr. Moreno. Dr. Moreno, we don't have any members of the media on this afternoon at this point. Is there any, so I don't have any questions for you off the top. Is there any information you can share with us today?
No, if there are any questions that do make their way to you, you can just send them on over to Karen Smith and me. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much. And so we'll forward any questions that we get. Let me just make a last check and make sure that we don't have anyone here, and we do not. So thank you very much, Dr. Moreno, and we'll forward any questions that we get.
All right. Thanks, man.
All right, our next topic is poll worker recruitment, and we're very pleased to have our registrar of voters, Gina Martinez, with us today. The November election may seem like it's far away, but it is really just around the corner, and poll workers are really vital to the election. Good afternoon, Gina. Tell us more about poll worker recruitment.
Good afternoon, Maya. Thank you so much for having me this afternoon. So we are currently recruiting approximately 700 positions to fill the poll worker need across the county. We have 73 locations across Monterey County that need to open on Election Day, November 8th, and we are looking to our community members to fill that position. I do have a PowerPoint slide, Maya, although I see there are no members of the press. I know that we are live streaming. I'm not sure if it's okay if I go ahead and go through that presentation.
Yes, please. We have viewers on Facebook and YouTube who would appreciate it.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I'm going to add a little too, before we get to poll worker recruitment, I was hoping to discuss the Gonzales special tax measure election that we're voting on currently.
The floor is yours.
Wonderful, thank you. All righty, so again, good afternoon. I'm Gina Martinez, Registrar of Voters, and in this brief presentation, I will provide an update on the Gonzales special tax measure election and on our November 8th poll worker recruitment efforts. There are just 13 days left in the City of Gonzales special tax measure election. This is an all-mail ballot election with over 3,600 eligible voters. Although this is an all-mail ballot election, in-person voting opportunities are available, and these include the Monterey County Elections Office, which will run until August 30th. And on select dates, August 26th, August 29th, and August 30th at the Gonzales Council Chambers located at 117 4th Street in Gonzales. Both locations will be open for extended hours on August 30th from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. Some important dates for voters in the City of Gonzales. The deadline for regular voter registration has passed, and we are now in the conditional voter registration period for those who are otherwise eligible to register and vote in the City of Gonzales, but have not yet done so. Conditional voter registration will be available until 8 p.m. on Election Day, August 30th, at the in-person voting locations. August 23rd is the last day Monterey County Elections will mail ballots to voters, and it's also the recommended last day for these voters to mail their ballots back to us to ensure timely return. August 30th is the last day to return ballots in person. Any ballots mailed must be postmarked no later than August 30th and received no later than September 6th. August 30th is also the last day to vote in person. Now, yesterday marked the Help America Vote Day, which is a national poll worker recruitment effort to kick off poll worker recruiting for the general election. We are currently filling approximately 700 poll worker positions across the county. Poll workers who are 18 years of age or older must be a registered voter or a lawful permanent resident and attend a poll worker training. Benefits of volunteering with Monterey County Elections include a paid stipend that varies depending on the position, and of course, you gain the benefit of playing an important role in your community. Bilingual poll workers are needed. Now, many know that there is a high need for English-Spanish bilingual poll workers, but we do have a need for those who are bilingual in Korean, Tagalog, or Vietnamese as well. High school students age 16 and over can also volunteer at a polling place. This opportunity is available to all Monterey County high schools. Again, the benefits include either a stipend or community service credit, in addition to high school, in addition, our high school students gain real world experience serving the community. What we see really with our high school students is that when they have these positive early opportunities to engage in elections, they become lifelong voters. So that's what we're looking for, is to get our high school students involved as well. Now, for more information on how to volunteer with our office, please visit the Monterey County Elections website or call our poll worker recruitment line, 831-796-1485. You can also email us at mcepollworker@co.monterey.ca.us. And I want to thank our partners for yesterday's Help America Vote Day. They were instrumental in getting the message across that we need our community to come together and help Monterey County vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. This is a great presentation, and the number of poll workers that are needed, for some that may seem like a staggering number of poll workers, 700 people, but if you think about where all those poll workers are needed, the number actually seems a little bit small. Talk about the diversity of locations and the things that people will do, because there's a lot more than just sitting at a chair and marking people off if they come in.
Correct. So our poll workers fill any number of duties. We have lead poll workers who are coordinating the entire day with their team. We have field inspectors who are rovers, and they're assigned a block of polling places in a certain geographical area. And they visit each polling place to make sure that our signs are up, that we're following the law and processing voters, and that all is well and supplies are ample within each location. Monterey County is very large. We have polling places in Carmel Valley, along the peninsula, in the far reaches of North Monterey County, all through Salinas and the South Monterey County, as far south as Lockwood. So our poll workers do everything that day. I mean, it's really an extraordinary effort. We give them training materials, so they're well prepared. And we do have a number of poll workers who return with us. So any new volunteers can feel some sort of comfort in the fact that they're going to be put on a team with people who are experienced. And they're experienced in providing the best service we can to our voters. That includes receiving vote by mail ballots, checking them off on a list, but it also includes the technical setup of the polling place. We teach them how to set up the ballot marking devices. We teach them the security measures that need to be in place throughout the day and in closing to ensure the integrity of the election. So this is really a great opportunity to do something incredibly important for their community.
And as you were saying, Monterey County is so wide and so big. If somebody is in Lockwood, for instance, and they're thinking, how could I help as a poll worker? They really could help as a poll worker.
They can. And there's a great need. There are certain areas where we have a greater need than others. Certainly the need is across the board in Monterey County, and I know across the state as well, not just with poll place counties, but with vote center counties. But when we look to our poll worker recruitment, we see places like King City and Greenfield and Soledad and Gonzales. These cities really have a tremendous need for individuals to be there. And our voters, the voting population has been growing over the years in these areas, and we need to keep up with the service. And so we're looking to the voters who really enjoy those polling places, or those high school students who one day might get there and vote, hopefully once they turn 18, but want to be part of something that's bigger than themselves. Come in and volunteer with us, serve your community.
And again, the email is mcepollworker@co.monterey.ca.us, and the phone number is 831-796-1485. Thanks very much, Gina. I know how busy you are right now. Thanks very much for talking about this, and hopefully we'll be spurring on people to volunteer and see a lot of returning faces and a lot of fresh faces among our poll workers.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last topic is going to be a first-time homebuyer workshop, which is scheduled for August 27th for Monterey County residents. And we're very pleased to have Jonathan Torres with Echo Housing with us to talk about this workshop and the value of being ready as a homebuyer. A lot of people right now may be frustrated if they're buyers, they may be frustrated with the market, but it's more than just what's the price of the house? So much more going into home buying for our residents. Good afternoon, Jonathan.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. I think that what you've seen in the media about that people are kind of selling their homes quickly because they can make a profit. And so through our home buyer education workshops, what we normally do is we provide the education portion for folks who have never purchased a home to really understand what that process is, and to give them a good foundation, because when they go and they speak to their lender, they understand certain terms or they understand certain concepts that sometimes a lender might not spend the time to be educating their client. And the same format works when you go and talk to your real estate agent and they talk about topics like, waiving your contingencies and what does that mean? So it's a really great way for folks who've never purchased a home or purchased a home 10, 15 years ago to come and learn and get some good education. Do you mind if I shared my screen real quick?
Please do. Please do.
Okay. And then I'm going to go to the presentation mode. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen. So just a little bit about us. Echo Housing is a qualified fair housing agency under HUD. And so we provide a range of services, not just the home buyer education workshops. As a reference, we do serve all of Monterey County. We serve Alameda County. We serve Contra Costa County. What we're really known for is our fair housing services. And so we most definitely investigate forms of discrimination, people trying to obtain housing, folks who are already in housing and perhaps might feel that maybe a manager, the landlord, is exhibiting discriminatory practices. And so that's what our main role is here at Echo. But we also provide tenant landlord services. And so conflict resolution, disputes against tenants and landlords, tenants against tenants. We've kind of seen the whole spectrum, especially during the pandemic, how, folks that are out of work might be experiencing some heightened issues with managers. And so our role is really to provide the education, the tenant rights that comes with being a tenant in Monterey County. And then obviously I'm here today because I really want to talk about our first-time home buyer education workshop. And so this is really, again, as I mentioned, a really big important piece of what we do at Echo about educating about our communities, especially folks who have never envisioned wanting to own a home, or perhaps they don't have the tools, maybe their parents have never owned a home. So this is a really great way to kind of learn about this process. And so again, we serve all the 3 counties, and it's just a really great way of learning about credit and budgeting and government assistance programs, the difference between conventional loans and FHA loans, for example. What is the lending procedures, closing costs, fair lending practices. And then at the end of the workshop, participants can receive the HUD certified home buyer education certificate. And what folks normally use this certificate is for down payment assistance programs, below market rate homes. Sometimes we call these affordable home ownership programs. And then there has been a few times where some of our participants do come to our workshop because their lender has told them, if you get the certificate, you can get a better interest rate with your mortgage loan. And so there's a variety of reasons, but if none of these apply, it's always important for you or for anybody who's still interested in at least learning what that process might look like to come and sit through our 8-hour workshop on a Saturday. So our workshop agenda is from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I do provide an hour lunch break. This is kind of the agenda for that day. So our registration does close next Wednesday at 5 p.m. I highly recommend that folks who are interested visit our website. There's a registration form. There's a few documents you do have to sign. This is a Zoom-based workshop, so you can do it at the comfort of your home, in the library. And this is, again, to allow folks who are, we're still under the pandemic rules. And so we just want to make sure that, this is accessible to people. And normally what we start off is we just really talk about the home buying timeline. I think it's really, really important for folks to understand that the timeline is not fluid. There are certain parts that are required. For example, in order for you to go view a home with your real estate agent, you have to have a pre-approval letter. And that pre-approval letter really signifies that A, you're really serious about purchasing a home, and B, that you can actually afford this home. And so if a seller is selling their home, they want to make sure that who's ever viewing this home can actually afford this home. And so we talk about this timeline because for some folks, and for folks that I've worked with, maybe that timeline might be a year. Maybe that might be a year and a half. It might be 2 years. And it might be, we meet and you're ready to go. Connecting you with a lender or a real estate agent. And so it's really about assessing what your situation is to determine where you are at on this timeline. And I'm just going to go ahead and skip this slide. But one of the other things I always emphasize is your home buying team and why that's so important, because your team needs to work for you, not the other way around. And you need to find a team that fits well with your schedule. If you're employed between 8 to 5, you clearly want to find a lender and a real estate agent that works after hours, that works on the weekends. You may want to find a real estate agent that works exclusively with first-time home buyers. Or you want to find a lender that works a lot with first-time home buying programs, that's really familiar with these types of programs to help layer your purchasing power. And so it's really important that your home buying team really works for you. And we talk about this in our workshop. We talk about ways to find a lender that works best for you and a real estate agent that works best for you as well. One of the things in first-time home buying is that sometimes we underestimate what it really takes to purchase a home. And so one of the key concepts that folks tend to understand most is that there's this down payment that you have to pay. And many times I work with households where they have a relative, they have a friend, they have somebody that has told them, you cannot buy a home if you don't put 20% down. And that's really a myth. That's a misconception. And I break that down in our workshops because this 20% down payment has nothing to do with affordability. It really has to do whether or not you have to pay private mortgage insurance. But as you can see on my screen, down payment can vary at minimum depending on the mortgage loan. So for example, FHA loans, which are government-backed loans, generally require a 3.5% down payment. And then below market rate homes or affordable ownership programs generally require a 3% down payment. But it's the second category that really puts people at, it surprises them because there's a second set of upfront costs that also has to be met in order for a household or an individual to get the keys to their home. And this is called a closing cost. And closing costs generally ranges between 3 to 5% of the mortgage loan that you're looking to be financed at. And it's a list of miscellaneous items. And so on this other screen, I've given an example basically saying that if you're going into purchasing a home that's $400,000, a minimum down payment of 3% plus a closing cost of 3% means that a household should be coming in with $24,000. That's a lot of money. And it's a lot of money for the average folk. And so this is what this program is about, is to really provide you this foundation so you understand, what costs should you be thinking about, because most folks really just think about down payment and they never really think about closing costs. One of the other things we break down in our workshop is understanding credit. I have found that there is a correlation between understanding credit and budget. And so one of the things I tell our participants is go to annualcreditreport.com. You're able to retrieve a free credit report from one of the 3 credit bureaus. This is a great way to understand where you are at. If there are anything that you have to dispute, there are discrepancies, this is probably the best way to go. And then we talk about, credit thresholds. We talk about, types of loans with the types of credit scores and why might that be more beneficial for a particular household. And then we also talk about, how your score is calculated. And so, this is such an important topic in our first-time homebuyer education workshop, because I find that most folks tend to lack this particular foundational knowledge, because I truly believe that if you understand credit and you understand budgeting, then you're able to guide yourself into home ownership. And then finally, the other type of service that we provide here at Echo Housing is our pre-purchase counseling. And what this is that it really assesses potential home buyers by providing an individualized one-on-one counseling on credit repair, budget, predatory lending. We use this to identify barriers to home ownership. And then it really is meant to determine your affordability. And what I mean by affordability is how much can you really afford? Because it's really the number one question potential home buyers have is, what can I really afford? And so it's a way to kind of individualize the counseling to ensure that you understand where you are at, where you need to be, and how to get from point A to point B. And so just briefly, how much I can afford is something that we call a debt to income ratio. And this is, again, something that I go over in our workshops, that we go over in our pre-purchase counseling sessions. And it's really the basis of determining your affordability. And so I think that this is a great way to understand where you are at, where do you need to be at, and how to get there. And so I highly recommend that anybody who's interested in our first-time homebuyer education workshops to please register. You can go to our website at www.echofairhousing.org. The registration's on the banner. And if there's any questions, you are more than welcome to reach out to me.
Thank you, Jonathan. This is just really tremendous information, no matter what level you are at in terms of buying a home. You talk about the people that you work with. Are you able to give us a little bit of a snapshot about what are people needing right now? Are there more people looking for down payment and mortgage assistance? Are there more people just struggling with the cost of housing? What does it look like out there?
Yeah, so I think most people are looking for down payment assistance programs. And then when we go through our pre-purchase counseling, we come to find that it's not just that anymore. It's also the closing costs that's associated, because that's usually what I call the hidden the hidden costs that really people don't talk about. It's the cost that your lender calls you after you've entered escrow and says, hey, Maria, your offer's been accepted. We're going into escrow. Please deposit X number of dollars, part of your closing costs. And so they go hand in hand. And so I think most folks who traditionally have always rented in their entire life have decided that they want to purchase home because it's in the media about owning a home, prices are increasing. And so our workshop is really meant to provide that kind of, big picture, but also some details that we want to provide a foundation. So when you go to your lender or you go to your real estate agent, you have a sense of what are the things that they're talking about. Because I think that when our communities become informed and they have the tools to navigate, they make way better informed decisions in the future.
Thank you very much, Jonathan, for running down the workshop, and a reminder to people that the registration closes on the 24th. It doesn't, you can't go right up to the date on the 27th. If people want to make a plan to participate, they should do so and register by the 24th, correct?
Absolutely, because this is a Zoom-based workshop, we are compliant with HUD rules because we are a fair housing qualified fair housing agency. And so, we have to make sure all those documents are good to go, your registration is good to go, and then we send out these Zoom links for folks who have completed the registration. If anybody has issues or you need an accommodation, feel free to reach out to me. I work with folks to try to get them into the workshop, but generally, if you email me, the night before the workshop and you tell me, hey, you saw this a week ago and now I'm wanting to workshop, usually my response is, let's wait till the next workshop to get you some time to register correctly.
Well, it's also making that connection too, to let people know that you're there to help and that they'll get the information. Even if they miss one, they'll be able to get another.
Absolutely, because we try to host these on a monthly basis. And so I think, it's a rolling basis with the exception of, November and December when it's the holidays, people don't want to sit through a workshop. But we normally have these running every single month.
Thank you very much, Jonathan, for giving us such a complete look at the workshop. And hopefully people will take advantage of what you have to offer.
Great. Thank you for having me.
And then I wanted to run just through a couple of pieces of information because it is Car Week. I want to share what is available for people. As you may know, or I'm sure you know, it's Car Week. You've been hearing about it in the news and you've been hearing about it online. If you're a local, you're looking for ways to make sure that you can navigate around any traffic. If you're a visitor, you're looking to find a way to the event that you're going to. Our county daily event tracker is online. It breaks down Car Week by day and has maps showing where events are taking place and traffic navigation options, including live traffic cams. Very handy if you want to see what the traffic really looks like where you're going. You can use the QR code on the screen here, or you can go to www.mccarweek.com. And then I also want to make sure you all know about our text service, which is texting Car Week, one word, to 888-777. You'll be able to receive safety texts from the Office of Emergency Services, all text and information related to Car Week, fire safety, zero tolerance, where to get information. This is all available by text to you, texting Car Week to 888-777. And just a final reminder, today is the second anniversary of the Carmel River and Dolan fires. And we want to make sure everybody just stays on top of their fire safety work. Fingers crossed, and that we don't have a repeat. Anyone who was impacted by those fires knows where they were this time 2 years ago. So let's all stay fire safe. That'll do it for our news briefing this week. Our next briefing is next week. We'll see you then.